when they asked me to do this, and they said it was very informal, and what did we learn? You know, I came thinking, because I'm 70 years old and very proud, that I had a lot to teach, a lot to give. But it's amazing how much I got out of this process. All those things that I didn't understand and learn. I didn't even understand, and I didn't know anything about the riots that happened with the Irish and the Puerto Ricans in the Spring Garden area. So this project helped me realize all that, learn, and also learn that when I used to did my master's thesis, I used to be friendly with all the librarians, and I would call them. They got all my information together and gave it to me. So I didn't have to search. You know, I had that. I was so blessed. So just being able to search in the boxes at Taller, especially because were just getting it done, and going through and wearing the gloves and all, it was a really interesting process that I learned. That I know I'm not afraid now to go into a place and know I'm not a researcher, and I don't want to be, but that I know I can do that, and I can help other kids do that.
As the son of a Chicana migrant field worker, this is like a very personal as well as professional interest. So I really kind of relish at the fact of being able to just get in and start reading some of these histories. And I came here both to HSP and Taller several times. I think I did 4 or 5 archive trips when it was all said and done. And what was remarkable to me was there was so many stories, right, available. So many stories that I didn't know and that I couldn't find elsewhere, even in my academic experience. I'm a professional researcher in that regard, but I had no idea of some of the labor histories of here with the Puerto Rican community. And as a Latino myself, it was very important to know the cross connections, right, between Chicanx migrant workers and Puerto Rican migrant workers. But what I uncovered was fascinating in that these stories have been long buried in the archive. And as I went through both at Taller and here at HSP, it became immediately apparent to me that I was one of the first people to hear or read some of these stories in 30, 40, maybe 50 years. And I recall one incident when I first came here to HSP, and I was really struggling about, all right, where do I go, right? The archive was vast, I had troves of info, so I said, just give me any box of world histories. I was like, we'll start somewhere. And I just let my interest unfold. And what I got was a box recounting in the 1960s neighborhood political action committee. That's what they call themselves, not in the terms of like a modern day PAC, right? They were not getting money for anyone, but they were trying to act politically on the community's behalf. And this one was in response to police brutality. And I asked the archivist here at HSP when was the last time someone had opened this, and it had been 40 years. So that was immediately struck me at just the importance of the project in general, that I was the first set of eyes to lay on this in 40 years, and it was me, another Latino here in Philadelphia. So that just spurred my interest even further, and I kind of dedicated myself to learning more. So the special place that this project holds in the history of Puerto Ricans in Philadelphia can't be underestimated in that regard. And I just wanted to highlight that. And the last thing I'll say is that what I encountered again and again in the archive and in these very personal narratives of lived experience was I struggled even to describe it, right? It was so fascinating, but it was a form of community engagement and closeness that I have yet to encounter elsewhere. But what I found here was a massive amount of solidarity. And what became immediately apparent that the current state and the current political climate within Puerto Rico and the massive amount of political power and enthusiasm that is pouring out right now is nothing new, right? That the community here has also acted in similar ways and has fought on their behalf. And that was another thing that I just wanted to highlight that just becomes immediately apparent, right, when you start really getting into the archives and hearing these stories.
History is always a project that is being made by different people and different groups. So I was very excited to be a part of this project because I think both Taller Puertorriqueño and HSP approached this from the perspective of centering the voices of the community And I think both Taller and HSP in different ways honor and respect the idea that history is memory and history is culture, and how that history is told not only creates a legacy for the future, but is as contested, it's as contested a space as politics. It's as contested a space as the economy or any other part of society. And what I really enjoyed about this project was the way that we did history. That was what was most meaningful to me about this project, because from the beginning, there was an acknowledgement that history is subjective, and the way we record history that you're gonna see is what becomes history, and whose voices are centered in that process. So even the whole idea of who was in the room to make this was grounded in this idea that history is subjective and history is made in community. So we had young and old, we had white people, we had Latino people, we had Black people, we had artists, we had activists, we had scholars, we had historians, we had archivists, and we sat down together and we said, what is important, what stories are important to tell? And I don't think that that process happens often. I think that too often history is the domain of experts, and I think that what experts become is often shaped by the biases that exist in society. So there is an imperative that people who are creating history have a chance to own that history. So I think we tried to do that, and it was not perfect, but we tried. So I'm very thankful that I was able to participate in this and for the wonderful work of everybody involved. Thank you.